Welcome back to Life Lessons. Today, we're diving deep into an ancient philosophy that teaches us to move through life with ease and purpose, avoiding the pitfalls of struggle and overexertion. We're exploring the wisdom of Lao Tzu, the revered Taoist sage, and his profound concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. In a world that constantly pushes us to strive, achieve, and push past our limits, the Taoist concept of Wu Wei encourages us to go against the grain, to let go of our obsession with control, and to simply flow with life. Wu Wei is often misunderstood as passivity or giving up control. But at its core, it's a highly skilled approach to life that requires trust, openness, and interestingly, a certain level of courage. Today, let's journey together into this remarkable concept of effortless action and see how it can transform our lives from stress-driven striving to a graceful, peaceful alignment with nature itself. To truly grasp the concept of Wu Wei, we must first turn our attention to Lao Tzu's notion of the Tao, or the Way. For Lao Tzu, the Tao was far more than a mere principle or guideline. It was a boundless, underlying force that directs and sustains the universe, a natural order so profound and all-encompassing that our minds can barely begin to comprehend it. Imagine the Tao as a river, an endless current that flows naturally, weaving through mountains, valleys, and open plains without hesitation. It encounters rocks and obstacles, yet it does not halt or forcefully push through. Instead, it moves with seamless grace, adapting to whatever lies in its path. This flow is instinctual and uncontrived, always finding the path of least resistance, reflecting a wisdom and strength that come from its quiet persistence rather than from any show of force. For Lao Tzu, this dynamic force holds lessons for us on how to approach life. He believed that the more we try to control the Tao or reshape it to serve our individual desires, the more we interfere with its natural course, creating friction and opposition rather than harmony. This is because attempts to control, manipulate, or force our will upon life place us at odds with this underlying flow. It's ironic. The harder we push and the more we impose ourselves, the further we drift from where we truly want to be. Lao Tzu suggests that if we relinquish our attachment to rigid outcomes and choose instead to align ourselves with the Tao's natural current, a different kind of success emerges, one that feels organic, harmonious, and most importantly, sustainable. This success arises not from struggle, but from a natural unfolding that requires little to no force. Consider some moments in everyday life. Have you ever noticed that when you try to impress someone, perhaps a potential romantic partner or a new friend, the more effort you exert, the less authentic and appealing you become? Or maybe there's been a time at work when you were so intent on delivering a flawless presentation that your nerves took over, causing you to fumble through words you had previously practiced without error. In each of these scenarios, the issue isn't a lack of knowledge or preparation. It's the compulsion to control and achieve a specific outcome that trips us up. By trying too hard, we inadvertently create tension, blocking the natural flow of our abilities. Lao Tzu's concept of the Tao, then, invites us to imagine that sometimes, by allowing life to unfold in its own way, and by doing less, we actually accomplish more. This isn't about passivity or inaction, but about approaching life with openness, trust, and a willingness to flow rather than force. It's about finding the courage to let go and believe that, just like the river, we too can find our way around obstacles without needing to push. Through this, Lao Tzu hints at a deeper wisdom. A life lived in harmony with the Tao is one where peace and progress coexist, where effort doesn't feel like struggle, and where our actions, like the river's flow, move effortlessly toward what is meant to be. At the heart of Wu Wei lies an invitation to cultivate a profound stillness of mind, a calm and centered clarity that enables us to engage in action without strain or attachment. This doesn't mean withdrawing from life's responsibilities or avoiding challenges. Rather, it involves approaching action from a place of balance and openness, where our actions flow naturally, without the weight of anxious ambition or forceful striving. Imagine yourself as an uncarved block, symbolizing a pure, natural form untouched by societal pressures, rigid expectations, or exhaustive planning. In this state, you're not fixed or limited. Instead, you become flexible, receptive to whatever arises in the present moment, free from the burden of imposing a rigid agenda on life. Lao Tzu doesn't provide a set of instructions for achieving this state of harmonious action. Instead, he offers poetic, timeless insights that lead us toward understanding and embodying the Tao in our lives. Those who are stiff and rigid are the disciples of death. Those who are soft and yielding are the disciples of life, he tells us. These words emphasize the wisdom of yielding, of moving with circumstances rather than opposing them. Life, in its essence, is fluid and ever-changing, like the Tao itself. By adopting a flexible mindset, we allow ourselves to navigate life's shifts without being broken by resistance. This adaptability becomes a path to resilience, enabling us to face challenges not with force, but with openness and strength. The Tao teaches that when we insist on controlling or overstepping in any situation, whether out of fear, insecurity, or the need for predictability, we often encounter greater obstacles and increased struggle. Consider, for instance, the well-meaning but overly controlling leader who manages every detail, or the parent who intervenes at every decision their child makes. While these actions may stem from genuine care or a desire for success, they often disrupt the natural flow of growth and create tension, which eventually leads to resistance and frustration on all sides. In this way, Wu Wei encourages a kind of non-intervention that is neither passive nor indifferent. Instead, it calls for a deep trust in the natural unfolding of life. When we step back from over-managing, we create space for things to develop organically. People learn to navigate their own paths, and situations often resolve themselves without forced interference. This trust fosters harmony, a quiet assurance that by aligning with the Tao's inherent wisdom, we enable life to flourish and flow as it is meant to. How, then, does one practically live by Wu Wei? It's a concept that may sound abstract or even contradictory, inviting us to act without acting and do without doing. At first, these phrases seem to suggest passive inaction, yet Wu Wei points us towards something much richer, a state of effortless action that's deeply engaged and alive. Living by Wu Wei doesn't mean drifting passively or surrendering control in the face of life's demands. Instead, it calls for active participation, but without the need to force or manipulate each outcome. A helpful way to understand this is through the concept of flow, as described by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is a state where one becomes fully immersed in an activity, experiencing an intense focus where time fades away, self-consciousness dissolves, and all that remains is the seamless unity between the person and the task. Picture a musician completely absorbed in playing their instrument, or a painter in sync with their canvas. Each movement follows the last without hesitation, arising naturally and effortlessly. They're not exerting themselves to control each note or brushstroke, but instead letting the music or image unfold from within. In this flow state, they are fully present, yet entirely free from the strain of overthinking or self-consciousness. However, achieving this state of flow is often easier said than done. Why? Lao Tzu might point to what Csikszentmihalyi calls psychic entropy, or the state of inner disorder that distracts and fragments our attention. We often carry within us a clutter of anxieties, fears, and mental scripts. Worries about how we're perceived, regrets about the past, or anticipations of what may or may not come. This inner turbulence pulls us out of the present moment, disrupting our connection to the task at hand and creating resistance within us. Instead of moving with ease, we become burdened by our self-imposed pressure, blocking the natural flow of our actions. Wu Wei, then, is an invitation to clear away this inner clutter, to let go of our anxious striving, and to allow our actions to arise naturally from a place of openness and trust in the present moment. Lao Tzu likens this state to an uncarved block, a state of pure potential that isn't yet shaped or constrained by preconceived ideas. In returning to this uncarved state, we find ourselves no longer needing to impose extra effort or force upon our actions. Instead, we're free to respond spontaneously, with clarity and simplicity, allowing things to unfold as they will. When we live in harmony with Wu Wei, we tap into a powerful flow where our actions carry us without strain. We don't need to try in the conventional sense. Rather, we become fully attuned to the moment, working with it rather than against it. In this state, we do what needs to be done, yet we do it effortlessly, without grasping for control, allowing the Tao to guide us with the wisdom that only emerges when we are willing to let go. Embracing Wu Wei in our lives isn't always simple. It requires courage to release our grip on the need for control, a readiness to place trust in forces beyond our immediate influence, and the discipline to quiet the relentless chatter of overthinking. Yet, when we allow ourselves to lean into Wu Wei, our experience of life shifts. We move with greater ease, feeling less burdened by time, less tangled in stress, and more attuned to each action and moment as it arises. So, how can we bring Wu Wei into our daily lives? Begin by noticing those times when you're caught up in overanalyzing or exerting force to make something happen. In those moments, pause and reflect. What would happen if I stepped back and let things unfold on their own? How might things change if I trusted the natural process rather than trying to shape every outcome? By giving yourself this space, you may discover that without the pressure of constant effort, answers come more freely, paths open with less resistance, and challenges become manageable. Incorporate Wu Wei in small, mindful ways throughout your routines. If you're cooking, for instance, focus on the rhythm of each step, the chopping, stirring, tasting, rather than rushing to the end result. If you encounter a challenge, allow yourself to take a mental step back, letting your mind relax and reset before re-engaging. Over time, these seemingly simple practices build up, gently steering you toward a life more aligned with Wu Wei. In a world that glorifies urgency and control, this way of living may feel unnatural or even uncomfortable at first. We're conditioned to push, to strive, to shape every detail of our lives. Yet Lao Tzu's wisdom invites us to see that there's another way, a way that feels lighter, more harmonious, and brings us into a peaceful flow with life itself. Thank you for joining us today on Life Lessons. I hope Lao Tzu's teachings have sparked a new perspective, perhaps even a sense of calm in the face of life's uncertainties. His wisdom reminds us that life doesn't always have to be a struggle against the tide. Sometimes the deepest strength lies in trusting the natural current, releasing our need for control, and allowing life to reveal its path. If today's episode brought you clarity or comfort, consider sharing it with someone who might also be searching for balance and ease. Remember, these ancient lessons offer a timeless compass for navigating life's complexities with openness and peace. Stay tuned as we continue our exploration of profound philosophies and insights that bring greater depth and meaning into our daily lives. Until next time, let yourself embrace the flow.